Hello, everyone, and welcome to this Insight series into offices with me, Chris Fordham, for the Light Review. Recorded earlier on today, this is me talking to Andrew Bissell, former director at Cundall, and with loads of experience and insights into his journey with office lighting. Sit back, thanks for joining us, and enjoy. So, Andrew, when looking at the office arena, for those designers just starting out, or even those who have never worked in this field, what are your general principles when looking at this topic?
Great question. Yeah, so I think office lighting design, like any lighting design, I think it's about understanding the people who are there and what they're actually going to be doing in that space. And what's interesting about workplace right now, as we all know, is as people are still venturing back, and some people are in full time, some people are in part time. The workplace has to become different. It is different now. People's expectation is different. And so if you're starting out now, you're starting out at both a very exciting time and actually a very difficult time, because we're not quite sure what people do need from the future office. But nonetheless, it's still going to be the same starting point, that you have to know what people are going to do there, and you have to know where they're going to be when they're doing those things. And so the first and foremost is interrogating the client and talking to them, listening more than anything, putting forward precedents and putting forward things you've seen that you think work, sometimes things you've seen that haven't worked, just to make sure that that particular client is aware of an idea and agree, absolutely, we don't want that, because that can reinforce which direction you take as well, knowing what they don't like and what they don't want to do. Do they work in teams? Do they have people? If you take our own industry, we have times when we need to be collaborative, talking, piece of paper on the table and everyone's sketching, and you need times where you're writing a specification, you need peace and quiet. So each discipline is different, each type of company is different, and therefore each space should be different. And that could potentially lead you on to Cat A type spaces, which are all illuminated the same way. So, that's maybe another question in itself. But look at people, look at the task they're doing, and that's the starting point, I would say, before you go anywhere else.
I mean, that's something that's a perfect world, isn't it? If you could get all those answers in those meetings, and in fact, if you could even have those meetings, I think, because there's some clients that just don't care. I think they see a 600 by 600 ceiling and they just think whacking as many lights is going to get me the light and the uniformity. And then are those sort of conversations the ones that you revel in, because you can provide more input, I guess?
I think that's exactly it. And what I've always said, and as we all know, the sooner you have the conversation, the more likely you can make a change. If somebody has already costed a scheme, if somebody's already been sold the idea that it's X pound per square foot to put lights everywhere, and if someone wants a task like that's okay, we'll buy them one. To be honest, and we do get this feeling now within the team, we kind of walk away from projects. If somebody else has already kind of been in and done that and sold them a grid of lights, that you're wasting your time being involved, you're wasting your talent being involved. You may as well leave the client to it and walk away. If you can get in early and just ask those questions and just plant a few seeds and start to wrap up all of the different aspects of what you're trying to do. You're trying to light the space to look good. You're trying to light the space so people can do the tasks they want to do, but you're trying to also then save energy. You're trying to reduce the use of raw material. You're trying to reduce wastage when it comes to recycling those products. You can only do that by having a very, very big conversation on day one. If somebody wants to put in a grid of lights, I'd advise just walk away and leave it.
You're in a lucky position if you could do that. But I think also now, after COVID, I reckon, offices and companies, they want to get their staff back in. So there's that added benefit, isn't there, of creating something which is basically interesting and drawing you in. So I suppose that's another way of convincing the client. I mean, how often do you actually refer to lighting guides? For example, LG7 from the SLL, and this is a bit contentious. What is your take on the new guidance from BSC and 12464 and like the massive load of light they want to dump on us now after such a long time where it's always been going down? I mean, it sounds preposterous for something.
It's interesting. I'm sure I've said it before. I find the lighting guides and 12464 and all of these other document standards, the information in there is so valuable. The learning you can do, and I would encourage anyone who's starting out in the industry, don't go to the table of numbers. Go and read the actual document. Maybe the SLL ought to sell the document for £20 and sell the book of numbers, the 2 pages, for £200, just to sort of discourage people from separate the two things and put a huge cost on the numbers and get people to read the book itself. The information is invaluable, and as you say, 12464 is with all of its modifiers is pushing you towards higher light levels. Again, if you think about why they're asking you to apply those modifiers, let's talk about lifting the lighting level. It's not lifting the lighting level everywhere. And also, if you've already put daylight in that space, actually, you've already done that job of lifting the lighting level without actually imposing any extra electric light and electric load. So I think all the guides are very relevant and exceptionally good. It's how you interpret them. Are you a lazy designer? You just want to read that book, apply the modifier and bang that light everywhere. Actually, you're not a designer, are you? Just frankly, step away from the lighting and leave it to someone who cares. But if you read everything properly and apply it properly and talk to the client early, there's nothing wrong with that document with 12464 and its modifiers. It's giving people more freedom. It's how you apply it and how you think about it that is going to make the difference.
That's a pretty fair point. I think I always feel guilty when I look at the guides, because sometimes you're looking at it thinking, just show me the numbers, because that's what the client's asking for. And that's what my calc says. But then when you start to dig in, there is so much more to it and so many more snippets of information that they also help drive conversation. The one thing I always think about is fixed ceiling types and fixed furniture layouts, because in the past, when I was working with that arena, I never could get a fixed furniture layout. So you're sort of stuck for something because you don't know where everything is, even though you want to do the right thing, because it looks better, doesn't it? So how do you go about that when you don't have a fixed furniture layout? You just...
Again, I think if there's no fixed furniture layout, then don't fix the lighting. Don't put it in. We've got to get away from this idea that there has to be light in there. Well, there doesn't have to be light in there. It's just something that people have considered is something you do all these years, and we just need to break that. We need to lose those people who think that way. I think there's a lot of value in if a developer, for example, having one floor or part of a floor lit and set up so when they're showing people, they walk them into a space that looks bright, that looks well, it looks good. They can sit at a desk and get a feel for how it would be to live and work in that space, but don't light the rest of it. Because one of the things I keep saying to people, we had this working from home period, which isn't quite working from home because we were made to, and not everyone has a proper office. I'm quite lucky I've got a separate room, so it is different. But during this period, no one's gone and bought a 600 by 600 and stuck it in their room at home. Absolutely no. I would love to meet the person who has done that. Please don't tell me you've done that. But
must be a manufacturer somewhere, just with some sort of...
But you didn't suddenly see John Lewis selling 600 by 600s because everyone's gone to work from home. So clearly, nobody actually wants them. So why do we have them? Nobody wants a flat panel of light. In their space.
You'd have to be crazy, wouldn't you? Just like, what would make this space look a little bit more aesthetically pleasing? Let's whack a square in the ceiling and call it...
Let's just flatten the space with some diffuse light. Nobody has done that at home. And so surely somebody somewhere, a developer somewhere, must be sitting there going, let's give them what they've got at home. Now, actually, obviously, that's a little bit too edgy because, people have got all sorts of things because it was always a temporary thing, wasn't it? That we were going to be home for 3 weeks, then 3 months, then 6 months. So nobody truly decorated their home properly. But if you were to be told now, instead of the company spending, £200,000 on rent a year, we're going to give every member of staff £2,000 for a desk, a chair, and some lighting, you'd go and spend some proper money getting some proper stuff. What would you buy? A flat panel or a nice table lamp and a nice pendant? What would you buy? So if we're going to light an office, let's light what people really want,
That's a really good point. And I know that you gave an interesting talk online around offices and the home working environment, which is what you're referring to, isn't it? And seeing if behaviours at home could actually drive or influence the office design, like no overhead lights, access to natural light and natural scenes and things. Did you implement any of that? Because I saw the plan in your presentation and I was like, I would work there. That's brilliant. But I guess...
Well, I'm pleased to hear you say that. Yeah, I mean, we actually moved office during the whole working from home period because the lease was up. But we've taken a Cat A office, so we've gone completely against our own advice. We took a Cat A office. We took everything we said not to do. So we've got row after row after row of desks, row after row of lights, and I don't go in now. Do the sums, it's okay. There's nothing wrong, and this is the interesting thing. There's nothing wrong with the space. There's absolutely nothing wrong, and the decoration of the space looks great. But as a lighting, as an environment, as a view out, it hasn't got all those things that we've enjoyed at home. I've got a fabulous view here now. I'm very lucky, actually. But I'm in control of that daylight. I haven't had these lights on for weeks, and so we've got to capture that. We can't. I'm finding some people are just making excuses. Oh yeah, well we couldn't because you can. If you want to, you can do anything. So if you haven't done it, it's because you didn't want to do it. So let's find out what's right and let's do it and not make excuses.
You might end up with the fact that people just work from home. And I think that probably makes lots of people go a bit cold and sweaty because they're like, oh God, I can't control my workforce and I can't see interrupting all these. I did think maybe the large manufacturers who've been flogging this stuff for years were probably slightly bricking it when all these changes were made, because and people buying and selling offices, they must have thought, what the bloody hell are we going to do now? I mean, because people are happy at home, aren't they? That's the problem. It's the problem. They're happy.
I think this is why there needs to be more interrogation of what you do in your job and when it's appropriate to be at home and when it isn't. So if you're writing a spec, just stay at home because you will focus, you will concentrate, you're in control of who can come and just talk to you and tap you on the shoulder. So you've got a dedicated time to focus. You can still get up and walk outside and have a break, but you're in control of how you focus as an individual. And then when you do need to be in there for a meeting, because it's sometimes quicker to have a face-to-face and get some paper out, then agree to go in and do it. But I think there's a little bit too much. We need to get people back to the office with absolutely zero thought of what they're going to do when they get there, other than chinwag.
I think that's a good way to wrap it up. We'd like to keep these short and sweet, and it's been short and it has been sweet as well. So thanks to you, Andrew, and thanks to you all for tuning in. Be sure to share, like, and whack or gently prod that subscribe button to keep you up to date with new content. And I'll see you in the next series. See you later, Andrew. Thanks for your time.
Thank you.